It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast, a podcast made by film fans for film fans. Apologies that I sound like
shit.
Jr. Yeah, I sound bad. I've been sick ever since the bachelor party, and I'm slowly recovering from it. And not only that, we moved this week, so I've just been running around nonstop, so I'm not really healing up in a good way. But Corey was generous enough to supply me with some whiskey before we started recording to hopefully kind of smooth over some of the hard edges because I sound like RFK Jr. Anyways, this is Slate Night. I am one of your hosts, Mason Schmidt, as always with my best bud, Corey Knudsen.
Ew.
We're going to be sipping on some Bud Light Limes, talking a little bit of Star Wars, talking about a little bit of movie news and other stuff that we watched this week. Corey had a bad little movie marathon that he submitted himself to, so he'll get to touch on that. And hopefully Corey will talk more of this episode than me, so you don't have to listen to me jostling the throat lozenge around by my teeth. But anyways, Corey, how you been?
Pretty good, man. Happy Memorial Day.
It is Memorial Day today.
Yep, so you had Monday off. I was off already, so get to another kind of late week of recording an episode, but... You know, I don't have a funny this week.
Not a funny. Not a single funny.
I don't have a funny. I don't have a bit really to do. Normally I try to bring one. Today I don't. It's just, Memorial Day. Yeah. Felt disrespectful, so.
I mean, look at you. Look at you having morals. That's great. We'll start off then. We had the big opening release of this past week with Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Directed by Jon Favreau, obviously coming from the director of The Lion King live action.
Started with that one.
Yeah, I wanted to, because that is just one of the most despicable things submitted to the screens. Starring, obviously, Pedro Pascal and Martin Scorsese in a very limited but very, very important role to this film. Sigourney Weaver, Jeremy Allen White, and Steve Blum. Once a lone bounty hunter, Mandalorian Din Djarin and his apprentice Grogu embark on an exciting new Star Wars adventure that feels like a continuation of the previous 3 seasons. This is, weirdly enough, the first Star Wars film that we've had in, 7 years now, since Rise of Skywalker, and does it show a little bit that we're kind of missing this galaxy far, far away? I think so, a little bit. The performances across the board are still largely pretty good. I didn't know a whole lot about the story going into it, and it kind of gradually got revealed throughout the trailers, but Rada the Hutt is going to be a big aspect of that. Didn't know that we'd get another appearance of Rada the Hutt in a mainline Star Wars film, so that was interesting. All in all, I'm not going to bury the lead too much. I thought that this was completely fine. I wasn't blown away by any aspect of it. It feels very much in line with the previous seasons of Mando. Granted, Mando seasons 1 and 2, great. Seasons 3, they fumbled. I think that this is kind of not to be this movie's mid, but it's just it's kind of comfortably in the middle of the quality of Mandalorian stuff for me. I really like those first 2 seasons. And this, it didn't give me anything that wowed me, but I was also I had a good enough time, which it sucks that that's my reaction to a Star Wars film, but also I'm just so hungry for a Star Wars film in theaters, so I'm happy on that regard, but it didn't give me much. I didn't love really any of the overarching villain of this story. I feel like that's where this movie kind of falters, is maybe an overarching, really commandeering villain. But yeah, it was a fine enough time. Corey, what were some of your thoughts?
I'm in lockstep with you. I mean, it was great to just be in the theater again watching a Star Wars movie. We talked about going into it that when Rise of Skywalker came out in 2019, we didn't know what COVID was. Yeah. You hadn't met your wife yet.
Hadn't met my wife? I didn't think about that.
So just a lot has changed since the last time.
Crazy.
We were still in college, we were in college. So it's been a while, and it was great to be there in the sounds and the sights of Star Wars in a movie theater again. It was fun, but I totally agree that it is kind of a bit of a lackluster return, just as far as story, characters, kind of everything. It really is just a continuation of the show, which that first season of the show that came out also in 2019 was such a special thing of being the first flagship thing on Disney Plus, where it was this is a Star Wars show, and now we have so many Star Wars shows, it's kind of lost.
Too many Star Wars shows. But that first season was so special, and the fact that they hid that Grogu was in it was really cool, and all the marketing, we didn't know that. Season 2, we both really like. I remember watching the finale of Season 2. That was a lot of fun, and just that reveal. And yeah, Season 3, I agree. There's some good things in there. I like going back to Mandalore and doing some of that stuff is cool, and Moff Gideon I like, but overall, you have Jack Black and Lizzo in the show, and I'm what is going on? Yeah. What the fuck's happening? So
this movie really, I mean, a lot of people have said it in interviews, but it does feel like it's a few episodes put together. It feels like maybe 5 or 6 kind of just clumped into one 2-hour and 12-minute movie. And you can almost feel like the chapter markers of it's like, all right, this kind of little mini arc ends within the movie.
Yeah, this climactic moment. All right, this is when the credits would roll. And now we phase into that next episode. It feels like the beginning half of like a third season. Like it feels like this is the overarching like story for like the first 4 or 5 episodes, and then we get into that like climactic, actual final story for that season. The one big positive I do have with this movie is the score. Yeah. And that was, like, it is a lot of carryover from the Mandalorian series, but hearing that in the theaters and Ludwig van Göransson just going to town on this, just hyping it up and getting the orchestral just...
Got a van in there.
Oh, it's just Ludwig
van Göransson?
Van Göransson sounds like...
That sounds tough, actually.
It sounds tough, but I'm definitely wrong on that. Ludwig Göransson, it's such a strong score. It has a lot of, like... things I don't immediately associate with Star Wars. There's like some weird techno beats to this that like were very uncharacteristic of a Star Wars score that I actually really enjoyed. So I was really surprised by that. And we sat through all of the credits and you hear different beats of the score and I'm like, this is so wild that this is part of a Star Wars theme. It's just so interesting. It's so unlike John Williams, but it does fit within the Mandalorian established stuff within this universe too. I will say my biggest negative, it is sometimes, like, it's a 2-hour and 12-minute movie, which Star Wars typically kind of hovers around that time marking. It's usually 2 hours and like 10 to 15 minutes. This film's pacing kind of lacks a little bit. It does, with kind of how you brought up, like, you could feel almost like episodic breaks in like climactic moments. You can feel it when it hits a low point. And there's a time when they're just kind of in the woods for what feels like a half an hour. Like, I left the theater, which I typically don't do. I didn't need to go to the bathroom, but I was like, I mean, I can now. I don't need to stick around. I know everything's going to resolve itself, and I'll come back, and we'll be back with the action. Yeah, there's just like a 20-minute slow period where I'm like, there's some good humor, maybe, but like, I feel like I was missing that even in this movie of like the Star Wars jokes and the humor, which we get even in the sequel trilogy and stuff like that. It wasn't like as like nonstop fun. I felt like it was sometimes just kind of bland. It is very much adjacent to like my experience watching Solo, but I think I enjoy Solo more, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll get into our rankings after our kind of big discussion about this, but yeah, I mean it's. There's just like not a lot to talk about. I guess I'll kind of throw a blanket spoiler warning. We've kind of given our general thoughts of it's fine. If you like the show, you're going to like seeing these characters again. If you're wanting like new character arcs or like a big, for Mando or Grogu, like big things to happen to them, that's not this movie.
No.
It's not really interested in doing that.
I was hoping. I'm like, I need one of them to die. Not that I need every main character to die in something, but I'm like, if we're doing a movie of this and there's already not really like confirmation of talks for season 4, give me some like really hard-hitting ending to this. Give me some repercussions to this story. Which there are times when I think the movie tries to lean into it and then make you think that Din might die or Grogu might die, but the film never feels like it's that heavy, so I was never on like I was never duped by it. I was like, he's gonna be fine. This is okay.
So, yeah, to kind of get into more specifics of the movie, like I said, blanket spoiler warning, just to talk about specific things that we both noticed in the, first Star Wars movie in 7 years. Starts off with pretty good cold open. I like it. I think that's probably the best scene in the movie, honestly,
Sadly, yeah.
Is this, like... It kind of starts out with some opening text. That's always a thing we just talked about. Like, how is a Star Wars movie going to open?
Yeah.
The thing with the episodes is, like, which way is the camera going to go? Up or down in the stars or whatever? Just weird things that Star Wars fans focus on. But with this one, we get a little text at the beginning just kind of wrapping up the 3 seasons where there's Imperial remnants out there. It's kind of like shadow council of people that are trying to keep it alive. The New Republic is out there, and they're trying to take down these Imperials. And that sets up this opening scene in this kind of snowy location, and we have Mando coming in. Really cool action scene, I think, of him kind of John Wicking his way through these dudes, and like you just see his like shadow go by, or like you see him with his flamethrower going through. Like pretty good like choreography and fights here, and like wide shots for a lot of it too. And then we get he's got the AT-RT, I think it's called, the little walker as he's going underneath the AT-ATs. some of them going down the hill in the ATRT thing looked a little wonky. Where I'm like, first of all, that thing is tumbling. The legs on that are not like staying. It's like a steep hill they're going down. I'm like, no, you guys are fucked.
That thing is definitely top heavy.
And yeah, so I was like, it looks a little strange. But then it's like fun. They go up in the AT-AT and take it down, and there's bombs in there. One little thing was like, there's Mando and Grogu are in the AT-AT, and there's a bunch of bombs behind them. And then they have to like get out of there before the bombs go off. But I'm like, Grogu could just force those out of there, yeah?
Also, those bombs are on the longest timer ever. Like, the villain escapes, and they're just like maybe 15 seconds goes by where he's trying to line up the villain in his sights, and he's like, yeah, I can get a shot off. Boom. And then, now I magically have enough time, we can fly out of here, we're fine. It's like, there are so many ways to get around this. Also, that's so convenient that those lasted a half an hour for you guys to get a shot off.
It's like, sometimes Grogu remembers he has the Force. Yeah. Sometimes, like, I get he's a kid, but I'm like, also, like, he's pretty powerful for a little kid.
You spent time with Luke.
Yeah, right. So, anyways, good little cold open, though. I liked it. I thought it was a pretty strong start to the movie. And then we do get our opening credits, which this is the first time that we've had, like, names on opening credits in a Star Wars live-action movie.
It felt a little like Top Gun. Because it started, and they're in the X-Wings, and they're flying around. They're all in, like, ships flying around.
Get the Apocalypse Now shot.
Yeah, and you get the Pedro Pascal come up, and I was just like, this almost feels like a Top Gun opening. Which I didn't mind. I actually kind of liked it.
Because, like, every other Star Wars movie ends, and it's, like, directed by whoever. And so we've had that. But first time, and we talked about it coming out of the theater, like, hearing the Mandalorian score, that main theme, in those opening credits was like, this is cool. Like, hearing it booming in speakers, not out of your laptop or not on your TV. That was pretty cool. But then we kind of get into the main story of at least like the first half of this movie, where Sigourney Weaver comes in as a new character, Colonel Ward, and she has nothing to do really in this movie. No character, no anything.
She's just in charge.
Just disappointing. I'm like, it's Sigourney Weaver. Like, she hops in an X-Wing at one point, but I'm like, whatever. But she has like this deck of cards of the Imperials they're trying to take out, and one of them, the Hutts, the twins that I think we met in Book of Boba Fett. They have information about one of these Imperials, so Mando and Grogu go on this adventure. Zeb is also there. Zeb Aurelius from Rebels, one of my favorite characters from that show. I think he's pretty underused in this movie.
The movie hits a point where he is just never to be seen again, and I'm like, I feel like you'd be really helpful in this situation.
Yeah,
it's very convenient.
Like one fun action scene where him and Mando are like going to a base to do that. I'm like, cool. Like that's the Zeb from the show that I like. But he's pretty underused just as a part of the New Republic. But anyways, they kind of go, and then it leads them to Rada the Hutt, who we last saw in the Star Wars Clone Wars movie. And it's convenient that the twins have a picture of Rada from the Clone Wars. They're like, this is actually the last image we have of him. It's like,
just a little baby.
Why is this the last picture you have of him? Or how'd you take this picture also? Like, do you have cameras here? Like, what? I don't know. Whatever. But, so yeah, that's the last time we saw him. But they find him, and I will say, I was a little nervous about Rada going in. He's voiced by Jeremy Allen White. The voice took me a second to get used to. Because, like, you can hear Jeremy Allen White, but it's, like, pitched down and changed to sound like a Hutt or whatever. Over time, it worked better for me, but I think the character arc is decent enough for this movie, where he's like, my dad was one of the biggest gangsters and crime lords, and he's like, I just want to be my own man, I want to do that. He has that same conversation like 3 times in the movie, but I think the overall idea was fine for it.
Yeah.
So then he's doing this gladiator fight on Shikari, I think the planet is. Mando gets in there. We get a fun little callback to like Dejarik, the board game on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the same creatures are in there doing the same moves. I'm like, all right, that's fun little callback.
That's a callback, and that's like nostalgia baiting, but I fucking was on board for that. When the big one throws him down, I was like, oh yeah, brother.
That's when R2 does it, and Chewie
just wipes the board. He's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So I actually like that scene too. I think the gladiator sequence was cool. Just like that's what you want with Star Wars in the action is like weird creatures, fun weapons.
It's another moment though where I'm like, they didn't think this through, because there's one of the monsters has like an electrical charge aspect to it, and then because of that monster getting like entangled in like part of their barricade that they set up to discourage the monsters from coming up into the stands, that electrical monster shorts it, and then they all can go haywire. And And it's like, you guys didn't think that through. You didn't think that this one electrical thing would fuck up, and that all of these would just wreak havoc on the people in the stands. I was just like, okay,
just innocent bystanders just getting fucked.
Kill them! Oh, we're dead. Oh,
shit! It's not even like Imperial dudes. It's just like random people.
It's just random people like, fuck Rada.
It's like, God, they're getting fucked up by these Dajaric dudes. Yeah. But yeah, that leads to like a little fun chase throughout the city as Rada just slugs into a fucking speeder.
The way the Hux move is like, I think, very unintentionally funny.
Hilarious.
But the way he's like, I'll find a vehicle for us to escape. You were right. I'll find a vehicle for us to escape. And then he gets into one, and he like weighs it down, and then he looks over, he's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you, and then he blasts off. I was like, oh my god.
There's even this scene earlier on Nal Hutta when like Mando and Grogu are walking in, and you just see like these different rooms of huts, and they're all just slinking and rolling around. I'm like, God, you guys are ugly as fuck.
Oh, nasty.
I liked when Jabba was just sitting still in Return of the Jedi. Like, that's all I needed.
You watch an episode of My 600-Pound Life.
It's like, I had 14 waffles this morning. Maybe tone it back. But yeah, so they capture Rada. Rada's like, hey, I can actually help you find this Imperial dude, Lieutenant Coin or something. They have their little scene at this compound. They capture him, bring him back to the New Republic. And then that's like the first half of this movie. And I thought I think it worked pretty well. Again, It felt like a few episodes of the show combined together, but I had a good enough time with it. And then it just kind of pauses for a while, and it feels like the movie's restarting. Because Mando and Grogu go back to, like, Navarro on their little homestead. Rada leaves in the ship. He's like, I'm going to go be free, do whatever I want. And then we're just kind of there for a while. And then Embo, the bounty hunter, comes in. Which, I love that character from Clone Wars. Very underused character, both in that show and in this movie.
Yeah.
I think he's really cool. He's got a fucking hat that is a shield, too. I'm like, this is tight. I like bounty hunters. But he comes in and he captures Mando, brings him back to Nal Hutta. And, like, it just feels like we're kind of just meandering for a while, because then Grogu and the little Anzellans meet up, and they're kind of doing their thing, like flying the ship there. Mando's just kind of trapped for a bit.
This felt like the most child-friendly Star Wars we've seen, just because we get a lot of... What are the names of, like, the Babu Frick?
The Anzellans.
Anzellans.
Yep.
Which their humor sometimes does make me, like, crack a smile. But when it's just the four of them, and Grogu trying to fly over and save or help Din Djarin, I'm like... What are we doing right now? Like, what's going on? And you can definitely feel that, like, hard timestamp shift in the story of, all right, we got that first part taken care of. Rada's kind of been now reunited, sadly, with the twins. Now what's happened with Din Djarin? And then Embo shows up, and it's just like, okay, I like this part of the story. I'm interested in this, but I was actually really hoping that he would kidnap Grogu. And then the rest of the movie was just Din trying to save Grogu and hopefully a sacrifice or something. Just because if this is going to be the movie of Mandalorian, I want it to be one of the best Mandalorian stories we've gotten. And this film doesn't have that. I think the best stories we've had from The Mandalorian are in seasons 1 and 2. And this is just like very much like a... Yeah, all right. It's like a bunch of filler episodes just tied together into one big movie, and I'm like, okay, well, what are we doing here, though? It reminded me, and I brought it up to Corey before we started recording. I think it's season 2, episode 2, when he's in that like ice tunnel and he's fighting the frost spiders. I like that episode, but this feels adjacent to that. It feels very similar. Of just like it's kind of a filler,
right? It feels like. Well, yeah, maybe I'll get into it a little bit in a second here, just of like what I wish they would have done with the story here, but it's like. It works so well for episodic TV, and I think that's why it was so special with that first season, because it's like we haven't had this of like small bounty hunter stories of like 20, 30 minutes, and it's like if you're going to just do that for a movie, why not just do a season 4 then of that? But yeah, so I mean we get back to Nal Hutta on this planet, kind of meandered for a bit. I do actually kind of like the Mando goes in front of the huts and they take his helmet off and they're like, oh, this is like, you know, disrespecting your creed, which we've kind of like...
We've done this before.
We've done that and like found out that it's like, yeah, it's not really like as big of a thing anymore.
Or at least
really.
For him.
Yeah, for him. Yeah. Like after season 3, we kind of, not debunked it, but kind of worked through that a little bit. But they're like, oh, we've seen your face now. And so you can't like return to your ways. And I like Pedro Pascal's line is just like, well, I'll just kill you then.
Yeah. You don't have to die.
That's kind of a baller. I like that. But then he gets the Rancor Rancor treatment, the trapdoor underneath. I actually like that scene of the big white snake, eel, whatever the fuck it is. That's pretty funny. He takes out some like early things in the water, and then you just see this big fucking white boy come up. You're like, holy shit. Good little like fucking water.
White Iverson.
Like, god damn. But I enjoy that sequence though. And then we get out of there. Grogu helps him escape. And then you mentioned it. It's when we're in the woods for like 15-20 minutes. And, Mando got bitten by this eel that had like a poison in it. And Grogu uses his force healing, which I still just fucking hate. I hate that they introduced that. It's just way
too convenient.
I remember they introduced it in the Mandalorian episode the week before Rise of Skywalker came out. Because Grogu healed like Grief Karga or something. And then Rise of Skywalker came out, and I think Rey used it on Kylo or something. Kylo. And I'm just like, no, let's not.
Stop doing this.
Let's not dive into this. And he uses it again. I appreciate that it's not like he doesn't actually heal him here. Yeah, it just kind of closes the wound.
Yeah.
But then we're just in the woods for like 20 minutes of Grogu just like fucking around. He gets a stick,
building
meditating,
building a little like tunnel for him to hide Din Djarin in, just so like the droids that are circling the woods won't find him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he finds this old man, old alien sitting on a chair, voiced by Stephen McKinley Henderson.
That's when I went to the bathroom. I was like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, this is the point to go to the bathroom. I normally don't condone that. I'm like, you can just sit down for 2 hours and watch a movie. Just deal with it. Yeah. But if you're going to leave at a point, when they get back to the woods, you have a good chunk of time, actually.
Anytime. Go get more popcorn. You'll have time.
Yeah. But anyways, he finds this. He gets this little antidote for him. Heals Mandalorian, and then they go back and kind of it's our final battle on Nal Hutta as they're taking out the Hutts, and there's some fun stuff in there. I mean, there's some fun little like droids and big kind of guardians of this place, and there's like a bunch of repurposed battle droids too, like the B2 battle or like the super battle droids or whatever. Like there's some fun little things in there. Feels like Dave Filoni's like, Clone Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Like, here's some more stuff.
You guys love this.
You guys love this stuff.
What I did, good stuff, you love it.
Let me put my show stuff in there. And yeah, we get like the final little battle in the throne room. I like that Embo actually has an action scene there, like him and Mando fighting.
It's a good fight, too.
Yeah, I'm like, this is cool. I wanted at least something with that character. I'm glad he doesn't die in this also. Yeah. He survives. If they want to bring him back, great. It is funny when like they save Rada because he got captured again by the Hutts. And it's just the three slugs just slugging around and fighting and just kind of like...
Not only that, but like back to Rada's first fight, the way he takes out his opponent is just flopping on him.
Yeah.
Like he's just fighting him and then he just goes up and down. And I'm like, oh my god.
That is fucking hilarious. Also, one quick note, probably the funniest line in the movie that I don't think anybody else in the theater laughed at, but it's when Grogu and the Anzellans are going back on Nal Hutta, like through these tunnels, and they're trying to find Mando in there, and they go to the beginning of this tunnel, and they're just like all standing there looking, and one of the Anzellans is like, "Big pipe, huh?"
So
we were just dying. There's little lines like that Mason and I just fucking lose.
That an independent contractor.
There's part where Mando's like, I'm an independent contractor. If you've seen Love on the Spectrum, Adon, I think his name is. On his date with Danny, he dresses up in Star Wars. I'm more of an independent contractor. Yeah. Hilarious.
Not Sith, not Jedi, more of an independent contractor.
Bar. That's just such a bar.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, the final battle's fine. I think it's fun enough. The Hutts fall down because they're heavy as shit, obviously. And there's 3 of them on there. You're like, yeah, no shit, that fucking trapdoor is going to fall again. They fall through. Grogu saves them, forces them up. Embo escapes. The Hutts get eaten by the big white snake or whatever the fuck it is. I understand, because like the New Republic comes in. Sigourney Weaver's leading this team. Dave Filoni's there as Trapper Wolf. He was in the Mando series.
The dumbest fucking names in all of Star Wars.
He was like, what's the coolest name that I can have?
For me with a hat all the time, I cowboy hat. How can I do this?
That first shot of him in the bar earlier in the movie.
It just took me out of the movie.
I'm like, I know you were in the show before, so it's not like just a random thing, but I'm also just like...
Anyone who knows anything about Star Wars is like, could you just fucking not?
Yeah, like easy with it.
Yeah.
But the fucking X-Wings and the U-Wings and all this shit come in, and... at that point, I'm like, do we need to bomb the place? Do we need to carpet bomb?
I was also thinking
because I'm like, I think at that point, Mando, like the Hutts had died, and Mando like got a call from them. And he's like, all right, bomb my location where I'm at. I'm like, but the Hutts are like the bad Hutts are dead.
Also, we don't need to establish a ticking clock when we don't need to. Like, they're gonna be coming down for a while. You don't need to. Hey, bomb this right now while I'm still in this throne room. Do it right now. It's like you have time. You don't need to do that. Also, the Hutts are dead. Like you don't. It's just so unnecessary. You want to kill the remaining droids? Sure, fine, fuck it, whatever. But
yeah.
Do it right now. It's like you're just establishing and finding a way to jerry-rig a ticking clock within the story to make it really interesting, and it's not. I'm just like, you guys had time. You didn't have to do this all right now.
Also, like, are all the Hutts bad? Or, like, all the, like, whatever their species is? Like, there's some that were just, like, slugging around, just having their weird little parties. I'm like, they just got fucked.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just want to have a Modelo with the neighbors and hang out.
Yeah, it's like, I guess take out the droids and everything, but I guess there's a little dogfight. We get that. Big fucking flop down in the water from Rada the Hutt and the other ones. Then we go back and Rada kind of joins the New Republic with Zeb. And Mando and Grogu go off on another, wherever their next adventure is. And then the movie ends. So, kind of a basic a breakdown there. Just a few other notes. I did forget to mention Martin Scorsese's character when we were on Rada's, the Gladiator planet during that sequence. He plays Hugo Durant. A couple things I want to note. He's a Ardenian character. This is getting into like...
Same as Jon Favreau?
Yeah, the Rio Durant character. We're getting deep into the Glupshido lore of fucking Star Wars here. Same from Solo, A Star Wars Story. Yeah, so voiced by Jon Favreau. One thing I appreciate about the character, it obviously just sounds exactly like Martin Scorsese, but they have the eyebrows of Martin Scorsese on this alien. Just big, bushy eyebrows on this alien at a fucking food truck. Making paninis or whatever the hell he's doing. And he's just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have information. I got information, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I maybe got the name.
No, don't pay me that. I didn't tell you anything. Don't pay me that. I didn't tell you anything.
So, after, Martin Scorsese's comments on, like, Marvel and theme park ride movies and all that stuff, interesting that he's here.
Star Wars movie.
Named after one of his movies as well, Hugo. So, anyways, there was that. I found just other little notes that I kind of had is, like, and something that Chris Stuckman brought up in his review that I thought was really insightful and really good that I felt but didn't know how to, like, process during the movie is that the edit of the movie feels really lethargic, where there's so many scenes where characters are walking to a scene and it's just, like, 5 seconds too long, where it's just, like, trim this up. Like, we don't need the whole 5 minutes of the ship landing. We can trim out a little bit here.
It could have been like an hour and 50.
It could have been an hour 50, and that's my biggest thing is, like, I don't, like, if you want to stick with this story for this movie, I think that's fine, but you need to trim it down to an hour 45, hour 50. This should not be over 2 hours for this story that you're telling. Trim out that entire sequence of in the woods of healing Mando. Everyone knows Mando's going to come back.
Yeah.
We don't need to do this. And it just, like, get us back to that main final battle at the end. And just things like that where it's just, like, clean up, just, like, this is different than TV. You don't need to extend that out of a character walking for an extra 10 seconds. Clean that stuff up. My biggest thing is that and I think a lot of people probably feel this way too, but this story just didn't warrant this trip to the big screen for Star Wars. I don't think, like, I think there is an avenue for a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, but I think it actually would have been better to use more of the storyline from season 3 with, like, going to Mandalore and Moff Gideon and, like, using the, like, cloning Force users to bring back Palpatine. Like, that's, I feel like what people have wanted is, like, more connective tissue to, like, validate the sequels a bit more and to make the somehow Palpatine return line
less dumb.
Yeah, and, like, make it make sense. And I feel like that's more of a cinematic route to go. You have a big villain, like you were talking about with... This movie doesn't really have a clear-cut villain, like Moff Gideon, Giancarlo Esposito. That's a good villain.
Perfect villain for that series.
Yeah, so I just think something like that could have worked really well. Or if you wanted to maybe do another season of Ahsoka, if you want to do another season of Mando, sure, but then have kind of the Mandoverse movie where we have Ahsoka, Mando, if you want to bring Boba Fett in, teaming up against Thrawn. Thrawn, another great villain in Rebels, one of my favorite Star Wars characters. and have it kind of be the capper, because that warrants a trip to the big screen. If like, need a little bit more budget for this as compared to a TV show. So
and there's bigger stakes.
Stakes.
This film just kind of lacked stakes. I was like, okay, like what happens after this? Oh, taking out another Imperial in the deck of cards. Like I also, in that final bombing, I was so thrown by like the X-Wings and everyone coming down to save Mando. I was like, I never felt the desire or like the appreciation for Mando within the rebellion. And it just felt really forced to me when they're all coming down to save the day, and I was like, okay, sure, he's part of the rebellion, whatever, but it just never felt earned. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this story, like you said, it didn't warrant big screen treatment. I feel like we've done better stories in the series that would have been better on the big screen than this. So
yeah, it's overall, I think we both had a fun enough time watching it in theaters. Just seeing a Star Wars movie again together was a lot of fun. But yeah, just kind of, it's a fine little side adventure with the characters. It's likable characters that you don't have to do a lot of work to establish, because most people, even if you haven't seen all the show, like, the basis of Mando and Grogu. Yeah. So that's a plus for it, but also it works better as a show, and that's what worked really well about it, was when we could do this episodic nature, and when you make it into a movie, it doesn't quite translate as well if you're not going to up the stakes. Not that we need to have this include Skywalkers or lightsabers. I think this is actually also the first Star Wars live-action movie that doesn't have a lightsaber ignited in it.
Okay, right.
Because even Solo had fucking Maul just at the end being like, yeah, here it is. And then, we had Rogue One, obviously, and all the other Skywalker movies. So, it just kind of didn't have the stakes that were necessary for it. If it was a season 4, this would be fine season 4. But it's just nothing special, nothing remarkable, but not bad. Like, there's nothing that I hated in this movie. There's no choices they made where I'm like, that's dumb, I hate that. As opposed to some other Star Wars movies like Solo and some other ones where I'm like, I hate that decision. Please don't do that. So it's just very meh. And that's sad that that's the point we're at with Star Wars in theaters, and this being the big return to the big screen, that it's just kind of meh. But I get, from a Disney perspective, also wanting to do a safe play after the sequel trilogy, and so much discourse around that, of just putting out a movie that's kind of middle of the road, and probably for a lot of general fans and families will please them, and will have just people being like, yeah, that was a fun time. I think for a lot of Star Wars fans, weirdly in a way, I think it will unite them of being like, that was kind of fine, right? And maybe that was the goal. I don't know. But that's our thoughts. Any other final notes on Mando and Grogu? I think I kind of exhausted my list of things.
No, it's nothing that I hate. Just a lot of stuff that I was like, all right, that's fine. But it's not what you want in a Star Wars movie. I'd rather have like something that I outright hated. This just felt so like it didn't move the metric in any way. It just kind of existed, and I was like, okay, that's fine. But I'd rather have something, one with more repercussions, more stakes, make me feel a certain way, make me hyped, make me just like because even the build up to this movie, I wasn't like the most hyped for it. Going into it, like literally yesterday when we went and saw it, I was like, all right, I'm starting feeling a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then you hear the score, and I'm like, all right, I'm feeling a little bit. But this just didn't have like a whole lot of weight. And I feel like if you're going to put Star Wars on the big screen, it needs to have some sort of stakes or massive repercussions for the overall universe. Whereas this story barely has repercussions for the main characters within the story, it feels like. Like, Din's just going to go on another mission. Like, cool, okay, whatever. So it's a little forgettable. It's fine, but it's sad that it's a little bit forgettable.
Yeah, maybe Star Wars Starfighter next year. We'll hopefully do some new things with Ryan Gosling and Sean Levy directing that. I'm excited for that, and hopefully this can maybe be a bridge to some better and more original and doing some different things in Star Wars movies. Okay, so now, we promised it a little bit earlier, we're going to give our rankings of the Star Wars movie. I believe the first time we've actually ever done it on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We've mentioned in passing our thoughts on different Star Wars movies, but we are going to stick to live-action, theatrically released movies in Star Wars.
Close to 12.
So, yep, 12 of them. There are a few other ones. There's the Clone Wars animated movie that came out in 2008. That was
Rada.
Right before, with Rada also, yeah. Yep, so right before the show came out, and then we had the holiday special and the 2 Ewok movies. I'll talk about the 2 Ewok movies in a second. Just as a note before this ranking, those 4, the Clone Wars animated movie, holiday special, 2 Ewok movies, are at the bottom. So
if I was really matter to include them, but
if I were to include them, they would be the bottom 4.
Do you want to go 12 to 1 or 1 to 12?
Let's go 1 to 12. I want you to start because I think I know most of your list, but just a couple of placements. So start with your 1 through 12.
12 to 1 or 1 to 12?
1 to 12.
1 to 12. All right, number 1 is Empire Strikes Back. It's the best Star Wars movie ever. It's never going to change for me. 2, A New Hope. I really love that movie. That one just infinitely makes me happy. 3, The Last Jedi. I will die on the hill that is a great Star Wars film, and if you don't think that that's a good Star Wars film, read a book. 4, Rogue One, another really good Star Wars film. I actually really like Tarkin in that. I know his face is a little gummy and weird, but I can get past it. 5, Return of the Jedi. Bit long, don't love the Ewoks, but still really good Star Wars. 6, Force Awakens. 7, Revenge of the Sith. 8, Rise of Skywalker, which I was telling you earlier, the ones that I pair together in my ranking are Revenge of the Sith and Rise of Skywalker. They kind of move together. 9, The Phantom Menace. 10, Solo. Just a kind of a bland, similar to a lot of our critiques of Mando, just kind of like a nothing movie. 11, Attack of the Clones. A Star Wars movie that I think is objectively a bad movie. I hate this movie. I've seen this movie probably the most of any Star Wars movie ever just because my brothers loved this one growing up. I have a lot of nostalgia for it, but I hate this movie. Number 12, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Mandalorian and Grogu is a better movie than Attack of the Clones. I just have more nostalgia for Attack of the Clones. Mando and Grogu, not a lot of stakes, not a lot of big repercussions. It's just kind of a nothing movie. So because of that, it's my least favorite. But it's a better movie than some of the ones ahead of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, my 1 through 12. At number 1, Empire Strikes Back. Number 2, A New Hope. 100% agree with you there. Number 3, I have The Force Awakens. That movie is so special, I think, for both of us, for so many people of our age, to like, that was kind of our first Star Wars movie we remember in theaters. We both saw Revenge of the Sith, but were very young or fell asleep.
I fell asleep.
Yeah. So we were 5 years old when that came out, so we didn't really have the consciousness to like appreciate it. So Force Awakens, I think, is still a fantastic movie. I can watch that any day. Number 4, I have Return of the Jedi. Number 5, I have The Last Jedi. Those 2 I kind of flip-flop a lot. It goes back and forth. Number 6, I have Rogue One. Number 7, I have Revenge of the Sith. Number 8, Rise of Skywalker. 9, The Phantom Menace. 10, Attack of the Clones. 11, Mandalorian and Grogu. And then 12, I have Solo, A Star Wars Story. For me, like, those bottom ones, like, Solo, for me, has so many choices in there that I just despise. Just on concept alone of doing this movie from the get-go.
I have no people. Solo.
The need to explain how Han Solo got his name, how he got his blaster, how he got his jacket, how he met Chewie, all this stuff. I'm just like, I hate this. Playing the Imperial theme in the thing, just little choices here and there. I'm just like, stop it. Stop it. Just, I really hate it. The villain of the movie, Enfys Nest and all that stuff, I don't care about. Like, Maul showing up at the end is like, oh, interesting. It doesn't matter for this movie at all. L3, the droid, is annoying as shit.
Very annoying.
I think the only, like, positives of that movie are Lando. Donald Glover is Lando. I think that's actually really good casting. The Kessel Run's pretty fun. That's about it. Like, there's just so many other sequences in Mandalorian and Grogu that I would rather rewatch compared to Solo. And overall, it's more of just a fine movie. Solo, there's just more things that I dislike about it. So
Solo does have some hard things to get through.
Yeah, I never am in the mood to rewatch that. So, yeah, that's our rankings. I'm sure someday we will do more specific reviews of these movies, and I know we've teased the sequels.
Defending The Last Jedi.
Defending The Last Jedi. We will get around to that at some point. But yeah, that's our Star Wars rankings. And you know, I teased the Ewok movies. That
you didn't know.
Maybe a lot of people may not know about the Ewok movies, but before we had these spin-offs of Mando and Grogu and Solo and Rogue One, the OG spin-off movies were the Holiday Special, which that's a fucking interesting trip. And then the two Ewok movies. We had Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure in 1984, and Ewoks: The Battle for Endor in 1985. They both came out right after Return of the Jedi, after the love for the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, or what Disney, or Lucasfilm thought that people loved about that movie. And they said, let's make some made-for-TV kid movies about the fucking Ewoks. So, Caravan of Courage, starting with that one. It brings back Warwick Davis as Wicket, the main Ewok. Also, these two movies take place in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
There's some things that don't make sense with that, which I'll get into. But, interesting thing about both movies, George Lucas did the story for both of them, and then somebody else wrote the script. But probably the best thing, and I'll start out with positives. I'll try to not be all negative about these. The production design is by Joe Johnston for both movies.
Oh.
Longtime Lucasfilm, employee who worked on a lot of different projects, and then obviously went on to direct, The Rocketeer, Captain America: The First Avenger, Jurassic Park 3, a bunch of other stuff that he worked on. So, the production design in this is actually pretty good. Like, a lot of stuff in the woods, like the Ewok huts and all the things that, amidst all of the shitty story and characters, I was like, this stuff actually looks okay. This is pretty good. So, shout out to you, Joe Johnson.
Someone cared on set.
Somebody, yeah, that part of it cared. Also, both of these won Emmys for Outstanding Special Visual Effects in their respective years they came out. Visual effects are in here, I guess, for a TV movie at the time. Sure.
Asterisks on there. Yeah.
There's some, again, it's kind of like nostalgic of the time, stop motion, and like they have a bunch of creatures that are, the green screen's not very good, but I respect the craft around it of what they try to do. But basically, to get into the story of Caravan of Courage, a family crash lands on Endor, and there's these two kids, Mace and Sindel, and two of the, worst child actors ever seen in my fucking life. And I don't like to harp on child actors a lot, but I just feel like we're in an age now where there's a lot of really good ones, and it's improved a lot. And just going back to the 80s, where it's just like, oof, you've both never been in front of a camera before, and it's tough. But they get separated from their parents, and then the kids join up with the Ewoks, and then they're on this little adventure to go find their parents that get taken hostage by the Gorax. This big fucking, I don't even know what he looks like, big creature looking thing in a cave in a mountain somewhere. And this movie is so fucking boring. It is an hour and a half, and this thing felt like fucking 3.5 hours. There's just like nothing goes on. Like nothing happens. Like the kids and the Ewoks are just on this journey. They each get these little like items that they used, like a rock and fucking feathers and other shit that will help them to get to their destination. And there's just little scenes that it feels like they were like, well, we have to fill out the runtime, so let's do something. At one point, like, one of the horses with the little girl on it just runs away, and then one of the Ewoks has to chase after it and then bring it back, and then everybody celebrates and the music is swelling as they're like, she's back! She's back! It's like, it was like 2 seconds that she was gone. What the fuck is this? Another point, the boy, Mace, he is at a pond, and he just puts his hand in the water, and then he disappears. And then all of a sudden, he's underneath the water, but it's like glass or like ice on top, and he can't get through. So then Wicket, I think it is, has to stick his magic stick through the water to pull him back up, because regular sticks won't do it. They'll break off, they'll disappear. So he has to use the magic stick that he got from Logray, the Camp Mystic Ewok, and get it out of there. And so it's... Oh, and then they also they play with like fireflies at a certain point, and there's just like they're camping and the fireflies are everywhere. And then Sindel, the little girl, she has her candle. That's her magic item, and she puts out the candle in the middle of their campsite, and then all the little fireflies go into it, and then it creates a little Tinkerbell type thing that the boy carries around in his pocket, and she does stuff throughout the rest of the movie. It's just little shit. that is so fucking wild in this movie.
Weird Star Wars.
Just weird Star Wars, weird trippy Star Wars. Yeah, and I don't know. They get back to they find their parents in the cage. Also, this cage is like it's up top like on a rope, but the holes are big enough for them to go through. So like they could jump out. Maybe they break a leg or something, but like you can get through it. The kids go and save them. I don't know. The kid like throws an axe, and there's a big spider that they have to fight, and the Gorax and all this shit. They get them out of there. It's whatever. So fucking boring. This was just a chore to get through this movie. It wasn't much better on Ewoks: The Battle for Endor. Like I said, came out in 1985. Directed by the guys that wrote all of the Riddick movies. Kind of interesting, Jim and Ken Wheat. So, I don't know, good or bad. I guess a couple of those are actually okay. They're fine.
Yeah.
But Battle for Endor is a little bit better than Caravan of Courage. It's much darker, but it's more entertaining throughout. There's actually stuff happening more consistently. It's weird and it's stupid, but there's more stuff happening that's kind of interesting. Movie starts off
stupid.
I guess spoiler alert for Battle for Endor if you have been wanting to watch this and complete your Star Wars watch through. The movie starts with Sindel, the little girl. Her whole family dies. They fucking died. The son and the mom just get fucking blitzed up in a blaze. The dad gets fucking shot a few times. And then she's like, that kind of sucks. All right, well, at least I have Wicket, the Ewoks.
Oh, good.
At least I have my new family to go on an adventure with. And there's this whole group of marauders, and there's like a witch presence in there. And they're trying to like, they find like the power source for the ship. And they're like, we need to use this to do something. This is like powerful. And they're like, we don't know how to use it, so we need help using it. And that's the whole like villain plot of this movie. And the kids are just trying to, they're the one kid now because the other one's fucking dead. The kid and the Ewoks, they go into the woods for a while and hang out with Wilford Brimley. Great actor, love him. Did a lot of oatmeal commercials back in the day for Quaker Oats. Talked about diabetes. If you've never seen that, that's fucking hilarious. And he's acting like the tough old grandpa that doesn't want to, love them at first, but he's like, these guys are actually okay. And then, they're just hanging out in the woods with this other little creature, Teak, I think his name is, a little speedster, terrifying looking fuck. And they're just making pies, and they're
terrifying looking fuck.
Eating pies and just like fucking around in the woods for the middle chunk. That part is really boring in this movie. And then they make their way to this castle to like break out, somebody that got kidnapped. And then that seems fun enough, I guess. The witch is there and she can turn into a crow. Also, she wears a ring and she can turn into animals. She turns into a crow. She can fly around and do stuff. And then we have a kind of end battle. If you're wondering what the Battle for Endor was, it's really not a battle. It's kind of like the War for the Planet of the Apes thing, where it's like, it's not really a war.
Kerfuffle.
Yeah, a little conflict here, but not really a battle or anything. Essentially just the Return of the Jedi ending, where it's the Ewoks against like people that are bigger than them and like rolling logs down things and throwing rocks catapulting stuff and whatever. Yeah, this one, like I said, it is a bit more, it's better paced than Caravan of Courage. There's just more weird shit going on that was more like, what the fuck are we doing here? There's also a point when Wilford Brimley says fuck in the movie, and that's really funny. It's kind of like a subtle thing, and I turned on the subtitles to actually see if they put it on there. They didn't, but he's like fucking around with his ship, and he's just like, fuck. I'm like, did I hear that right? Like, you dropped the F word in the Star Wars movie for TV? That was funny. Anyways, it's like I said, these take place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It doesn't really make sense because in the second one, Battle for Endor, the Ewoks start speaking English, and Wicket's just like talking, or in like basic, as they call it in Star Wars. He starts speaking English, but then in like Return of the Jedi, obviously he doesn't speak it to Leia.
Yeah, they don't do that.
It's like, why would that? And then like these aren't really like canon, I guess. Even on Disney Plus, they're labeled as Star Wars Vintage. So, take them as canon if you want, I suppose. But
I don't know if anyone's really like, yes, these are.
Yeah, like nobody's defending these, being like, this needs to be canon. This means a lot to me.
This is my Star Wars.
Yeah, this is my Star Wars. Nobody's ever said that. But it was interesting. I've just heard about these movies for so many years, and it was nice to check them off the list and watch them once and only once in my entire life. And now I've seen all, whatever it is, 16 Star Wars movies, and it's something that I'm going to watch a lot of them again, but these are not going to be 2 of them.
Yeah, I don't imagine myself ever venturing into watching these Ewok movies, so I commend you for submitting yourself to that, but they kind of sound like shitty enjoyable, like I could get drunk and maybe have a good time.
Battle for Endor, getting drunk and watching would be fun.
The other big release that Corey and I both saw this week was kind of piggybacking off of our avid love for the film Obsession. We thought, all right, horror is going to continue throughout the summer. We have Passenger coming up, directed by Andre Overdahl, who we both really like as a director of The Autopsy of Jane Doe, as well as The Last Voyage of the Demeter. This is a film that features a young couple that witnesses a gruesome highway accident, and then they soon realize that they did not leave the crash scene alone, as a demonic presence called the Passenger won't stop until it claims them both. Basically a possession story. It's Nomadland, weirdly enough, mixed with like Conjuring or like any other possession story. You have this entity that has latched onto you and your van in this little van life era that these 2 main characters have found themselves within. And this entity is here to take you out. And everything bad about a lot of mass-produced horror films can be found, sadly, in this film. It has the research scene, it has a weird entity, but not only that, it has a just stupid fucking premise. If you want to do a haunting story in a house, some sort of creature or being or entity has taken hold on the structure of this house, that works. You got a Mercedes van and this entity is latched onto the fucking panel sliding door and scratches 3 little talon lines into the side of your paint job, and now you're marked. I just couldn't get behind this movie. I was so disappointed and so underwhelmed by this. I debated leaving before this movie ended. There's one moment in the woods where they film a scene where they're watching a movie. That scene kept me there.
Okay.
I was gonna leave, and then that scene happened, and I was like, oh, maybe it will get good. Nope, it's just that one scene. It does not get better. That scene, I was like, this is something. We have something to work with here. I was so underwhelmed by this. It was so disappointing and so unscary, and I almost laughed at this movie. It's just so bonkers and bullshit, and the characters are stupid, and just everything great about Obsession, it stays with Obsession. It did not carry over into this film, Passenger.
I feel very similar. I'll disagree a bit just on the overall premise, because I think the trailers for this movie were okay. And, like, the trailers really are, like, the opening scene of this movie.
Yeah.
Kind of spoiler alert a little bit. But, like, 2 guys are driving on a road trip, and then one of them stops to go to the bathroom, comes back, his buddy's gone. And then he's driving away, and he sees just, like, this guy standing on the side of the road. It's like a loop. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, that's interesting. I think there is something scary about, like, stopping in a place you don't know, and there just being, like, figures in the woods. I'm like, something here.
Yeah.
It's not entirely bad. It's just executed terribly in this movie. And it's just disappointing from Andre Overdahl, who I haven't seen Autopsy of Jane Doe, but Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and Last Voyage of the Demeter, I think, are both, like, pretty good horror movies. They're not super scary, but I think, like, pretty solid. I like the atmosphere, especially, of Demeter. I think that just on the ship is really cool. So I was hoping he could carry that over here, but the couple in this movie, played by Jacob Scipio and Lou LaBelle, like, just not great screenplay, and also just not great acting. Like, I know Jacob Scipio, he's been in, like, the most recent Bad Boys movies. I think he was his kid. Was that him?
That's where he's from.
Will Smith's kid in those movies. I think he was in The Expendables something, 3 or 4. I don't know. One of them. But I never felt their relationship in this movie, because they just get engaged. And, you know, he really wants to have this van life, that Nomadland type thing you were talking about. And she's kind of like, yeah, I'm in love and want to do that, but, like, I'm not really for it. So that's, like, the main conflict. I just really didn't care.
No.
I was not interested in that at all. The dialogue is just, it's something we harp on a lot, but it's just explaining shit of just being like, oh, those are the 3 markings that we saw from that book that we just read, where those 3 markings mean that you're in danger. It's like, no, we get it. We saw that scene. You don't have to explain it. We get it. And the biggest thing is, like, even if your story and your characters are bad, if you can have decent scares in a horror movie, then it can win me over a little bit. And beyond the initial opening scene of the movie, which I thought was okay, and that projector scene in the woods, I thought was interesting, like using the movie projector to look around. I think it's Roman Holiday, the movie that's playing. Watching, yeah. I actually haven't seen it, but like that was an interesting to like use that as a flashlight and like do more stuff like that. That was cool.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it is just a rinse and repeat, just one trick pony of guy with long hair, the passenger, either just standing, or he's like in the back of the van and starts walking to the front of the van as like one of them's in there, and it just does that again and again and again, and just, you do that enough and it's not scary anymore. And that's really all this movie has to offer. I think that like they keep bringing up in this movie the Saint Christopher, like the patron saint of travel or whatever the fuck it is. And it's like you can have these little medallions to ward them off, and
not a cross. This little medallion for Saint Christopher,
which this random gas station has like 45 of them for some reason.
They're like, hell yeah, we'll buy all of them. Thank you.
And then they go to a church at the end, and they're trying to kill the entity or whatever. It's just such a nothing movie to me. Melissa Leo's in here as one of the nomads, kind of the van life people. She gets her head ripped off, and it's like, okay, sure.
She's like, I'll help you the moment she says that. Head off.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
So this one was very disappointing for me. Like in a different way of like Mando and Grogu. That one's not as much disappointing, where like I kind of had my expectations set. This one, just in this month of horror movies that we were excited for, I was actually looking forward to this a lot.
Oh yeah,
I think we both were. And it was just so nothing. It was just so generic and bland. And again, coming from this director, I was like, damn, I wanted something a little bit better. But when there's Obsession and Hokum still in theaters and Backrooms coming out next week, I just think that there's so many other better horror options for you out there.
Yeah, can't really recommend Passenger, but like Corey mentioned, Backrooms is coming out this upcoming week. It is one of the new releases, directed by Kane Parsons, starring Chiwetel Ejiofor, Renee Rensiv, Mark Duplass, and Finn Bennett. Honestly, I don't know much about the story. Watch the trailer. The trailers are eerie about liminal spaces, and I don't know much. I haven't watched all of like the YouTube kind of creepypasta stuff about Backrooms. I might try and dive into that a little bit this week and lead up to this movie, because I can't wait for this. I think it looks so freaky. We also, weirdly enough, have a film starring Nate Bargatze called The Breadwinner coming out, directed by Eric Apple, who directed a really good film, the Al Yankovic story. A supermom lands a Shark Tank deal, switching roles with her breadwinner husband. He struggles to adapt as a stay-at-home dad. So it's very much like Michael Keaton in
Mr. Mom?
Mr. Mom, which I like that movie. The trailers for this have been very unfunny and very underwhelming. I like Nate Bargatze as a comedian, but this looks so unfunny. Also coming out this week is Pressure, in World War II movie, I believe, starring Andrew Scott, Brendan Fraser, Kerry Condon, Chris Messina. In the tense 72 hours before D-Day, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, played by Brendan Fraser, and Captain James Stagg face an impossible choice: launch the most dangerous seaborne invasion in history, or risk losing the war altogether. Trailers have played a little bit like, almost similar in like Darkest Hour, where I'm like, this feels like a Lifetime movie on the big screen.
I like Nuremberg a little bit too.
A little bit like Nuremberg, where I'm like, I don't know if I need to see this, but I like the cast. We also have Tuner coming out this week, directed by Daniel Roher. Starring Leo Woodhull, Dustin Hoffman. This is a very interesting trailer. The synopsis, I don't think, does it justice. Watch the trailer. You can feel the weird tonal story shift in the trailer, and it's kind of interesting. A talented piano tuner's meticulous skills for tuning pianos leads him to discover an unexpected aptitude for cracking safes, turning his life upside down. Watch the trailer. It's wild. Really excited for Backrooms. The rest of these are going to kind of, for me, fall to the wayside, though.
I'm really excited to watch through all the Backrooms shorts, or like the little, I guess, TV series, whatever you want to call it, that Kane Parsons also created. I found a playlist on YouTube that has like all 25 of them on there, and they're all like 2 to 3 minutes, most of them, so I'm like, I can rip through that easy. So I'm really excited to check those out, because I also don't have much exposure to this, but the trailer's been really cool, and I'm very excited for that. I've heard good things about Tuner, and kind of curious, but I don't know. Well, I might check that out at some point. Maybe not in theaters this week, but Coming out on physical media this week. Neither of us bought anything, but we do have one that I'm excited to get at one point, which is Sentimental Value, coming out on Criterion. And then we also have If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, coming out on the A24 release there. And then we have some older titles, Faces of Death, following the newer version that came out this year. The 1978 4K is coming out this week. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, what a fun movie. That's coming out on 4K. The Great Outdoors, another fun movie.
I love that movie so much.
Such a great comedy.
Nostalgic.
Yeah, that's on 4K. Harry and the Hendersons, have you seen that? Oh, I
skipped that.
I grew up watching that movie all the time. John Lithgow and his family adopt this Bigfoot, and made me sad at the end. I was like, fuck, this is kind of getting to me. I love Harry and the Hendersons. I still have the DVD of that movie, I think, that I watched countless times as a child. And then Parenthood coming out on 4K as well. Alrighty, into the movie news. We do have a couple, just like an award season stuff. The Cannes Film Festival just happened. And we'll just talk about some of the winners, some of the more buzzier movies that happened. Fjord won the Palme d'Or, the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival. It's directed by Christian Mungiu and stars Rana Reinsve and Sebastian Stan. I've heard a lot of great things about it. Obviously, it won the top prize. Also, the streak for Neon of having 7 movies in a row win Palme d'Or. Starting with Parasite in 2019, it was just an accident last year. Nora, I think Triangle of Sadness was one of them.
Yep.
I forget some of the others, but
Titane,
yeah, that was one of them as well. So just a great streak of movies for Neon. They're just putting out distributing so many great movies. The Grand Prix, which is the second place, went to Minotaur. The jury prize went to The Dreamed Adventure. Best director was a tie between Pavel Pawlikowski for Fatherland. I actually really want to watch Cold War, his movie from a few years back.
That movie's fucking perfect.
I've heard it's great.
Awesome movie.
Yeah, and he got nominated for Best Director at the Oscars there, so I probably check that out before Fatherland gets released here. And then Javier Calvo and Javier Ambrosi directed The Black Ball. They also tied for that award. Best Actor went to a couple guys from Coward, Emmanuel Machia, and Valentine Campaign. Best Actress went to, again, a couple actresses from movie All of a Sudden, from Virgin Efira and Tao Akamoto. And then Best Screenplay went to Emmanuel Mar for A Man of His Time. Again, like, we haven't seen any of these movies. We don't have really anything to say about them.
No.
But just a couple other movies that screened at Cannes that were kind of notable to me just as I looked through the list. Bitter Christmas from Pedro Almodovar. He's always got a movie like in the Oscar conversation, whether it's international feature or for director. I know like Parallel Mothers a few years ago, I think he got nominated for. So he's always there. One movie I'm really excited for is called Hope from Na Hong Jin, which has been described to me as like Mad Max Fury Road, but it's like kind of a Korean movie, I believe.
Yeah.
Sounds really cool, really interesting. Another one is Paper Tiger from James Gray, who directed Ad Astra, Lost City of Z, I think Armageddon Time a couple years ago, which I didn't see. But the movie stars Adam Driver, Miles Teller, and Scarlett Johansson, and sounds like it's getting involved in the Russian mafia, like this family gets involved there. That sounds pretty cool, and sounds like maybe some buzz for Adam Driver and lead actor. And then Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. What a title.
I'm so excited for this movie.
Jane Schoenbrunn directed I Saw the TV Glow, which I do not like that movie. I just couldn't vibe with it, and I've heard that this movie is more of her style and more of that. I'm curious about this movie because I like some of the cast and some of the story beats, but yeah, I don't know. I'll be curious. I want to give it a chance, but her style may not be for me. Her Private Hell screened at Cannes. Comes from Nicholas Winding Refn, who directed Drive. This movie got really weird mixed reception. Some people loved it and gave it a 10-minute standing ovation. Some people walked out like 30 minutes in.
Very Nicholas Winding Refn.
Yeah, I'm so curious, and I think it's coming out soonish, like in a few months in America here.
This is his first movie since, Neon Demon, which was like 2017, I think?
Something like that, yeah. It's been quite a while since he's put something out. The last movie I wanted to mention...
2016.
2016, oh, so 10 years, yeah. The last one that had a lot of buzz was called Club Kid, which I don't know much about, but people were saying... In a year when a lot of people said that the Cannes Film Festival didn't have a lot of huge winners. This was one that a lot of people really liked. So just some movies to on our radar, and it'll be interesting, like, come award season and Oscar stuff, if any of these. I think Fjord probably will be.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other ones, too, I think we'll just kind of have an eye out for sure. Other movie news stuff. King Conan, which is a sequel to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan movies. It is going to be written, directed by Christopher McQuarrie. He's going to start shooting in 2027. I have not seen his 2 Conan movies or the Jason Momoa one. So I'm excited to, as I do with a lot of these things, watch through all his movies.
I haven't seen a single one of them either.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought maybe you'd seen the Jason Momoa one for some reason.
Shit. Jason Momoa one I have seen. I saw it in theaters with my mom, and she was so pissed. She's like, this isn't what this movie is. And I was like, this movie is fucking awesome. It sucks. It's so bad. But I could tell she was so, like, why did I bring my kid?
I'm excited to watch the Arnold ones. That'll be fun. After the great success of Michael and the continued success right now, a sequel's announced, which we all kind of speculated. Michael 2. I don't know if that's the official title or if it'll be Jackson or whatever the fuck it's going to be called. It's going to come out, and we'll see what they tackle in that movie. I don't know. What?
Michael, second one, Jackson.
What? They could.
I mean, so stupid.
What? Just probably Michael too, but it'd be funny if it was Michael Jackson. The last big thing that, again, is very important for both of us, and was great to hear this week, The Adventures of Cliff Booth is going to get a 2-week theatrical run starting on November 25th. Some of those are going to be in IMAX theaters, and then it's going to drop on Netflix on December 23rd. Prime for award season. We obviously have the poster up right here. There's our boy Cliff. One of my favorite characters in all of movie history. Happy that it is getting that theatrical run, and I can't wait to see this movie. Hopefully, maybe at the Main. That feels like, you and I go see that there. Yeah. That would be sweet. So, great news, and I hope Netflix keeps doing that for a lot of their movies.
Yeah, this is like one of the few things I can praise Netflix on, of like finally starting to show that they are willing to put more of these movies in like a exclusive theatrical window or a theatrical run. Mm-hmm. Keep doing it. We love it, and especially for this movie, we can't wait to see it. So that will do it for today's episode. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Slate Night the Film Fan Podcast, and letting Corey kind of lead ship and hopefully talk most of it, because I sound horrible and I've been coughing a lot. Sorry, Corey, if you try and edit around that. In film, it's not just about what's on screen, it's also about who's next to you in the theater.
For Mason, it's Slate Night, that's a wrap.